Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In this Jagat, everything is jada, lifeless. And yet, so many things look as if they are alive. The whole Jagat is not Srishti. We will talk more about it. It is only a manifestation. There is nothing new being created. But something is happening. How can a jada vastu make something happen? A lump of gold cannot transform itself into a bangle or a necklace. A lump of clay cannot transform itself into a pot or a tray or a cup. There must be intelligence and there must be skills. The only intelligence available, only Chaitanyam available is what he calls Sakshi here. But because the Sakshi is accessible to those forms which have a Sukshma Sharira, we sense that certain things are sentient and certain things are not. The apparently sentient things are driven by the fact that there is a apparent reflection of the Chaitanya called Chit-chaya, Chitichaya. Literal translation, reflection of the Chaitanya. But whenever we use that word, we have to be very conscious of the fact that there is no reflection. It is only an idea to help us understand this Chaitanyam. Now the truly Jadavastu, which we see as Jadavastu, are Sthula Sharira, are easily discernible. We know a stone, we can stumble upon it. But the Sukshma Sharira, by definition, is something that is not accessible to the senses. So how do you know the presence of the Sukshma Sharira? Only through its karya. Sukshma Sharira is known because of what it creates. Again, the word creates, be extremely alert to what it means. We know the Sukshma Sharira exists because we infer it from its karya, from the effect of the Sukshma Sharira. So he spent some time telling us about tadatmyam. The Sukshma Sharira in the form of ahankara is able to, for want of a better word, reflect the Chaitanyam, and it looks like the entire body is alive. Both the Sthula and the Sukshma Sharira, because of the tadatmyam with chitchaya of the ego, ahankara, everything appears sentient. But in reality, neither the Sthula Sharira nor the Sukshma Sharira is sentient. They are all jada. Therefore, this tadatmyam is a point he stressed a bit, and that this is something which cannot be separated physically. Tadatmyam itself means tat atma. One is taken to be the other is taken to be the first one. Inextricably mixed up. So this Sukshma Sharira produces, again in quotes, the entire Jagat. He said, he called it Linga Sharira because Lingam, Lingyate Anena iti Lingam, by which one infers all the others. The question then is, if Linga Sharira become the cause for manifestation of everything, what is the nature of the Linga Sharira? He said the Linga Sharira is jada. And it travels through these three states of being, avasthatraya. Then it dies and remanifests. He also took pains to show how this Sthula and Sukshma Sharira are jada by saying that in deep sleep, nothing is there. No Sthula Sharira, no Sukshma Sharira. Because Ahankara also becomes Laya. Ahankara is the only element which, because of tadatmyam with chitchaya, appears alive and makes others appear alive. Like tadatmyam with the Sthula Sharira also. And he said this tadatmyam by itself, when we look at it, we cannot separate the two elements of the tadatmyam. But with the sharira, it's natural. That's what it is, karma dependent. And therefore, when the karma allotted exhausts itself, that also exhausts, only to reappear in another sharira. The tadatmyam of the ahankara with chitchaya is natural. We are born together. They cannot be separated. They cannot end except when complete laya takes place. There is no need to separate also to understand the satyam. Tadatmyam with sakshi is because of ignorance, and that will go when jnanam comes. When jnanam arises, darkness has to go and light arises. Light is there. The two cannot coexist. So our entire effort is to bring that jnanam, to remove, to put an end to this tadatmyam between ahankara and sakshi. Tadatmyam removes the difference. You cannot tell one from the other. But the fact is, while the ahankara is non-separate from sakshi, sakshi is not ahankara. So to be able to see the two for what they are, that tadatmyam has to be ended. And that ending will take place when jnanam arises. Then he went on to explain the idea of linga sharira. Linga sharira is nothing but the sukshma elements which have to be inferred and which also is jada. Then, if this is so, how do we understand this Jagat? I have to understand this Jagat. Jagat is real to me. If I don't get clarity about the Jagat, it is not possible to get clarity about the self, which is what I'm looking for. It is exactly as in the Swapna Prapancham, as long as it looks real, I can never get out of it. Even when wise man comes and tells the person, hey, this is all only Vidya, non-existent in the real state, in the, relatively speaking, in the real state, which is the waking state. All that you experience in that state of swapna can be completely negated on waking up. Like that, as long as this tadatmyam is there, and as long as the ahankara and chitchaya are taken to be real, this Jagat will exist. Not only will it exist, it will always be mistaken for being real. Our human buddhi has a need to pigeonhole everything. It is either real or non-existent, unreal. Either real or like a rabbit's horn, it's non-existent. This wrong understanding is what creates this Jagat and assigns reality to the Jagat. This Linga Sharira, same as Sukshma Sharira, being the cause of Manas and Ahankara, Idam Vritti and Aham Vritti. How do we understand the Jagat? Next verse goes on to talk about this. If Brahman is the only reality, Brahman is I, and it is akarta, bhokta, avikara. If I accept all this, how did this Jagat get created? There is nothing that can be created without some change. And Brahman basically is changeless. Avikara. So in order to understand this, this concept of something being not real and not dismissible as unreal, something in between, something which our buddhi requires a lot of explanation to accept. Concept called Maya was introduced. When I was reading the Bhashyam by Bharati Tirtha, the next verse, in fact, introducing the next verse, I came across a sentence which I thought I'll share with all of you. Wonderful sentence. Says, Evam Nikhila Samsara Nirvahaka Linga Sharira Swarupam Nirupya. Having shown entire samsara having been caused by the Linga Sharira Swarupa, Idanim, now, Asya Lingasya, this linga, of this linga, Viradanta Samasta Prapanchasya Mula Karana Bhutayaha. That which is the Mula Karana, the primary cause for the entire Virat Jagat, Viradanta, all the way up to Virat, Samasta Prapanchasya, of the entire Prapancham, entire Jagat. Jagat includes anything which is not I, all the non-I. The entire cosmos, all the other galaxies and other cosmic bodies and whatever is on them or in them. Not only the earth, not only our solar system, not only our Milky Way, but everything. Some of which we have been able to discover, some of which we have not been able to discover. Now they have this new, not so new, telescope called a James Webb telescope. Earlier, we were working with the Hubble telescope to reach out to this Jagat, to this prapancham. They claim that this will show the state of this Jagat 13 billion years ago. And are hoping that the nature of the creation of this Jagat will be more easy to understand with that data. So there is a recognition that there is a world beyond just the earth, and the entire thing is called Jagat. That's why it says Viradanta Samasta Prapanchasya. You know, the Virat, we've been seeing three simple words I used to often talk of Virat. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Swaha. Entire cosmos is covered. Or Chaturdasha-lokaha. 7 lokas which are considered undesirable and 7 lokas considered desirable. I'm deliberately not using the word 7 lokas below and 7 lokas above. It might give us some misconception. The entire thing, the entire prapancham of that Mula Karana Bhutayaha, that which is the Mula Karana, primary cause, Satchidananda Brahmashrayaha, that which is dependent upon Satchidananda Brahma. Avidya, Ajnana, Tamo, Mohadi, Shabda, Vachyayaha. Of that is based on Avidya, Ajnanam, Tamaha, Moha, Ityadi Shabdasya, Vachyayaha. Sarvanartha Bija Bhutayaha. Anartham. Anartham is not that which is not real. Sarvanartha Bija Bhutaya. All the not real means what? The entire Jagat. Anirvachaniyayaha Mayayaha. That which is Anirvachaniya, of that, of the Maya. All this only to qualify Maya. Mayayaha Swarupam Tat Shakti Dvarena Vibhajya Darshayitum Tat Shaktehe Yattam Tavat Darshayati. Which can be known only by its Shakti, which creates its Karyam. Tat Shaktehe Yattam Tavat Darshayati. What Darshayati? The next verse. Maya is also Mithya. That's the first thing we have to understand. Anything other than Satchidananda Brahma, I is non-I and therefore Mithya. Whether I can see it or I can't see it, it is Mithya. Whether it is Sthula, perceptible, or Sukshma, not perceptible, not tangible, it is non-I. A very beautiful sentence, I thought, as I was reading the Bhashyam by Bharati Tirtha. Yattam tavat darshayati. Kaha darshayati? Who shows the next verse? We read the next 3 verses together, so they all relate to Maya. You can put in 13, 14, and 15. Shakti-dvayam hi mayaya.
Shakti-dvayam hi mayaya.
Vikshepa-vritti-rupakam.
Vikshepa-vritti-rupakam.
Avriti, not itti. Vikshepavriti Rupakam.
Vikshepavritirupakam.
Rupakam.
Vikshepa Shakti Lingadi.
Vikshepa Shakti Lingadi.
Brahmandantam Jagat Srijet.
Brahmandhantam Jagat Sruchet.
Srishtirnama Brahma Rupe.
Srishtarnama Brahma Rupe.
Satchidananda Vastuni.
Satchidananda Vastuni.
Abdhau Penadivat Sarva.
Abdhau Phenadi Vatsarva.
Nama Rupa Prasarana.
Nama Rupa Prasarana.
Antar Dṛg-dṛśya-viveka.
Antar Dṛg-dṛśya-viveka.
Bahishya Brahma Sargayoho.
Bahishya Brahma Sargayoho.
Avrnotya Parashaktihi.
Avrinotya Parashaktihi.
Samsarasya Karanam.
Sa samsarasya karanam.
Samsarasya Karanam. The two Shakti of Maya. Is Maya a separate entity? We have to postulate Maya in order to explain and understand samsara. But Maya or anything else cannot be a separate entity. Why do you say that? Because Brahman, I, is ekameva advitiyam. There is no second. And yet we have to postulate a second. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand how this Jagat came about with only Brahman, which is avikara, akarta. So there itself, the first step, we have an issue. Is Maya a second entity? If it is a second entity, we will have a parallel reality. And that goes against everything. So it cannot be a second entity. But it still has certain Shakti. Maya creates this entire Jagat. Maya downwards, everything has to be, cannot be real. Our Tattva Bodha has a very detailed explanation of this. How this Maya creates the Panchabhutani in their Sukshma form. And how these Panchabhutani transform into the Sthula elements of the Panchabhuta. Like various atoms combining to form molecules. With this basis for Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira, everything as follows. So this Jagat completely, including both the Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira, arise from Maya. Now we have another problem. We have a third element called Karana Sharira. That also we've been studying in Tattva Bodha. Karana Sharira is that which is the hetu for both the Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. And they both appear because of wrong understanding, avidya. Therefore, Karana Sharira is called Avidya. If Karana Sharira is the Karanam, and we say Maya is also Karanam, the two must be the same. Maya is also Avidya. Let us, for a moment, like we would do in our mathematical derivations, make an assumption. And then we will go on to see how that assumption can be negated. We'll assume an entity called Maya, while keeping in mind that Maya cannot be a separate entity. So various words are used to say Maya is a Shakti of Brahman. Again, only words can be used. And that word create confusion because if Brahman has certain Shakti, that becomes an attribute of Brahman. And anything which is an attribute will cause that to be not infinite, because that attribute can change. So we make some assumption to begin with, that there is an entity called Maya, which is non-separate from Brahman, which is the cause of this entire Jagat, which has certain powers to create this Jagat. Maya, therefore, must be all knowledge. Because if the entire Jagat is to be created, all the variegated elements of the Jagat have to be created, all knowledge must rest in Maya. Otherwise, you can't create the Jagat. It has two Shakti. Shakti Dvayam hi Mayaya. Maya's two Shaktis. Vikshepa, Avriti Rupakam. One called Vikshepa, other called Avriti. From this Vikshepa Shakti, Lingadi Brahmandantam, Brahmandansyantam, Jagat Sujet. This Avarana means covering. And Vikshepa means projecting. If you look at life, we are doing it all the time. Covering something and creating something different. Swami G has two very wonderful examples. When a child is about 2 years old, for that child, the mother is infallible, like God. That's why the infant, every now and then, will come and test the mother's pallu, make sure that the connection is there, and then go and play again for some more time. We've all seen this happen. Then when that little child is 2.5 or 3, he or she is forcibly separated from Ishvara and sent to school, prep school, KG. The child doesn't like it at all. Because nobody wants to be alienated from Ishvara. It's only later in life that the child understands that mother is not infallible. But till then, mother can talk, walk, mother can take away all fears. So the child does not want to go to school. Then what happens? The child sees that there is no option. Comes back from school, and the mother hugs the child and says, "How was school?" The child might have hated every minute of separation from the infallible mother. But what does the child say? It was very nice. I had good time. It covers up innocently the fact that the child did not like to be separated from the mother. And projects something different, saying it was very nice. But this remains in the consciousness. And the subconsciousness remains and has to be processed at some point in life. So what is the child doing? Covering up the truth, avarana, and projecting something else, vikshepa. At every step in life, we also do that. The second example will clarify it. When the lady of the house is expecting a guest, and she tries to quickly clean up the house. And in the drawing room, there's a whole lot of stuff lying around all over the place, and she doesn't have time to get rid of all of them and make the living room, the drawing room presentable. And she wants it to be presentable. So what does she do? She takes all of these things, stacks them nicely in one against the wall, and brings a nice bed cover, nice sheet, and covers this mess. And then she finds some nice knick-knack to put on top of that. One flower vase, one statuette. Make it look different. What is she doing? And this again, we've seen so many times happen. Maybe we've done it ourselves. There is avarana. And there is vikshepa. This Shakti we get from Maya. Maya comes with this Shakti Dvayam. Maya cannot be real because there's only one real, Brahman, I. And yet Maya has to be postulated. Maya is still cannot be dismissed because the whole Jagat is there. Because the effects of Maya are visible everywhere, are perceptible. Therefore, Maya cannot be dismissed. By its karya, we know Maya. So we have this issue. What shall I call Maya? My brain wants to categorically fit it into something, either real or not real. But it doesn't fit either way. It cannot be real because there's only one real. Nor can I dismiss it as being not real. So we have to create this third category, which is neither real nor unreal. Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam, which cannot be dismissed as asat, nor can be accepted as sat, real. So we have to create a third category. Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam. So this Maya is the first of this Sat Asadbhyam Anirvachaniyam, which is given a technical name called Maya, Mithya. Now, if Maya is to create everything else, then everything that comes from there has to fall into the same category. By creating a new category called Mithya, which is neither real nor unreal, and fitting Maya into that category. And because Maya creates all else, everything else also must fall into the same category. Maya's Vikshepa Shakti and Avrana Shakti, Avranoti, has to be seen to be what it is. Vidya. If we accept that, even my Sharira, Stula Sukshma Sharira, the entire Brahmandam is all Maya creation. Who Maya by itself is Jada. Who creates, who makes Maya create this world? After the Upanishads say, Mayam tu prakritim vidyat, Mayinam tu maheshvara. The only Chaitanyam, Rameshwara, has to be the magician. And Maya is only Prakriti. That which has the power to create naturally. And that power split into Avrana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. We've seen also in Tattvabodha that Ishvara is also has two parts to it. Brahman with certain attributes. Called Saguna Brahman. That which is the cause of the creation of the entire world, not by itself, but by Maya. The difference between Ishvara and Jiva, Jiva is also created by Maya. But in Jiva also we've seen Satchidananda. The difference is Ishvara has total control of Maya. Mayinam tu Maheshwara. Whereas where the jiva is concerned, Maya has control of the jiva. This Shakti Dvayam, Avarana Vikshepa Shakti, creates the entire Jagat. Now you have to understand what is creation. If we have defined Maya itself as not real, nor dismissible as unreal, then what is creation? Neither real nor unreal. It is not a creation. It is only a projection. Dvayam hi mayaya vikshepavriti rupakam vikshepa shaktir lingadi brahmandantam jagat srijayet. You project this entire jagat. Lingadi, the individual sukshma sthula sharira and brahmandantam, all the way up to the entire brahmandam. Is only a projection. Like the images on a movie screen. There is no reality to them. And yet, they are real. You cannot dismiss them. They are there. If it is something frightening on the screen, you close your eyes. At least many people do. It's real. If there's something highly sentimental, people shed tears. It's real. The tears are real. The fright is real. But you know that it is not true. It's not real. It's only a projection. Despite this knowing, it is real. Everything in the Jagat is like that. Sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam cannot be categorically defined either as Sat or as Asat. Called Vidya. In the Jagat, individual Linga Sharira, there is tadatmyam with the only real Sakshi. And because of the tadatmyam, the individual Linga Sharira and Sthula Sharira looks real. Because the tadatmyam is such that you cannot separate them. Similarly, in the Brahmanda, there is Brahman manifesting as everything here. There too, we can't see the difference. And the more difficult part of it is, the reality is that everything in this Jagat is therefore only Brahman, but Brahman is none of them. That is the complication. You go to a gold jeweler's shop, everything there is only gold. Whether it is a bangle or a ring or a chain, it exhibits the same properties. same atomic number, same structure of electrons, protons and neutrons. The same physical properties of malleability, shine, the same chemical properties, whether it is made into the form of a ring or a bangle or a chain. Nothing has changed. So where is creation? Creation is only insubstantial nama rupa. You give it a shape, a rupa, and give it a name. It has a purpose. A pot holds water. But pot is nothing but clay. You cannot say the pot doesn't exist. Pot exists. It serves a purpose. It has water. It holds water. You go to the river and carry water from the river into the home. And yet it is nothing but clay. Because if we remove the clay from the pot, there's nothing left. Where's the pot? So how can you call it real? Nor can you dismiss it. Where's the pot or a jar or a foot scraper or whatever else there is? All different shapes, different names, and different utilities. But none of them exist. They're only clay. So how do you classify them? Neither real nor false. That is how we saw Maya is. Neither real nor false. We are not dismissing the Jagat as false. If you barge into a lamppost, your nose might bleed. The lamppost might get a dent. It is real. It is real seen from the Vyavaharika perspective. But is it real? Same question we asked, is the pot real? No. Anything here is also not real. Only from the Vyavaharika perspective, it looks real. The back pain is real. But seen from the perspective of the absolute, it doesn't exist. It's Maya, wielded by Maheshwara, seems to create this entire Jagat through its ability to project a Jagat, a non-real Jagat. Vikshepa Shaktihi Lingadi Brahmandanta Jagat Srije. You keep using the word creation. But in the language, creation has a different connotation. Creation is not, the Jagat is not creation. We've seen that. Because creation implies change. But the rope does not change because a snake is created. rope manifests as a snake. You don't even have to go that far. Same example of a gold and golden ornaments. You have to take an example. Let's take an example that people will like, no? Gold. Same thing. None of the properties of gold changes. At least in the case of a pot, clay and pot, the pot has to be fired. The clay has to be fired to create pot. So this Maya Shakti, the Vikshepa Shakti of Maya, projects the entire prapancha. We fortunately have a very good example in the form of a dream, which we'll examine tomorrow, to see how this projection takes place. And then we'll also examine the Avarana Shakti. Why is the projection required in the first place? We will look at it in the class tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Om.
Thank you, Swami G. Thank you,
Hare
Swami. Thank you,
Om.
Swami.